Okay, let's go right into it as we begin our first map here on Moondance. As spawn here at the bottom right, we got our blue Zerg player from Dragon Phoenix Gaming. It is Rogue.
And his Terran opponent in the top left corner, playing for Storm Gaming, it is GUMIHO.
Alright, so this is from the OlimoLeague Invitational number 14. And OlimoLeague has been kind of a tournament that has been going on for many years. They used to produce tournaments, I think either weekly or monthly, but they have slowed down at a certain point because of course either their passion ran out or they had some trouble with the funding, because they do fund it themselves. They don't have like a big company like ESL behind them.
Yeah, and I find that, that's been happening a lot since, I want to say, 2018 onward. You see a lot of community, grassroots sort of organizations just running out of funding, really, and not being able to continue as we get into, year after year of Legacy of the Void. Like, this is an old game, that's something that, I don't know about you, but I tend to forget. Every time I boot up StarCraft, it feels like a fresh experience, but that really isn't the case when it comes to the larger esports community.
Yeah, especially if you're running like weekly, that's like really incredible, hard to keep up,
Oh yeah, definitely. Alright, so GUMIHO starting with a command center first, which I do like. I don't know if, I guess nobody really knows yet if that's actually advantageous on this map, because, looking at the minimap, it doesn't look all too big, but it also doesn't look that small either.
Yeah, it's definitely a risk, a little bit. But it looks like GUMIHO will be safe for the time being, as there is nothing coming across. Now, Rogue usually tends to go for more of a standard safe opening, and for good reason. I mean, he is a really skilled player. Usually he's the one favored in his matchup, so as the person favored in their matchup, you usually want to go a bit more safer, go more standard, because of course they have probably a little bit better mechanics or macro mechanics, micro. So you kind of want to play it the long game, as such, right. Kind of shown by someone like Zero. But then, there's also those, every blue moon you do see, of course, a little bit of cheeky play coming from Rogue.
Yeah, definitely. It looks like GUMIHO's the safe one in this matchup. He obviously kept the Reaper on the ramp close to home. But at the same time, he's also going for a quick third command center in the pocket base. Now, what do you think of this? I personally really like this. It's so close to the main, it's so close to the natural. You might as well put it down on location since it's protected in the back.
Yeah, for sure. And, it's one of those bases that has only one gas. But that's okay, because of course Terran, they're mainly, most of their production is funded by mainly minerals instead of gas, as compared to, let's say, Protoss, where maybe it's a bit more beneficial to get the the other pocket base, or I guess the other third base, because Protoss units do cost a bit more gas.
Yeah, definitely. Now, interestingly enough, we see a double armory play coming from GUMIHO. We see Banshee Cloak, I believe, coming up, but that is a second Viking on the production tab. So I wonder what exactly GUMIHO's planning.
Yeah, I mean, of course, GUMIHO, one of those players that is known for his mech play, and you can definitely start adding in more factors. I mean, he's gotten pretty much all the gases of each base that he has right now. So, there we have it.
Okay, there we go. That's right. We are seeing mech play from GUMIHO. Now, I love how we were just talking about the pocket base only having one gas, and yet it doesn't seem to phase GUMIHO. Like, he just took the gas immediately. So, regardless, he's got high gas income right now. Anyways.
Yeah. And oh, will he get the
Oh.
Overlord? Yes, he does.
Okay. Nice little skirmish in the middle of the map. Overlord a bit out of position. Queen's not quite able to save it.
Yeah, unfortunately, the Queen spent all their energy spreading those creep tumors, so it didn't have enough energy there to transfuse. But look here, we have a kind of a hit squad of Hellions coming from GUMIHO, looking to take down those creep tumors.
Yeah, this creep spread, I mean, it's already halfway across the map, so GUMIHO is definitely doing a good thing for himself by cleaning up those tumors. Oh, okay, going straight into Thor's. GUMIHO is taking advantage of his armory tech. Now, Rogue, interestingly enough, is still going for +1/+1 Ling Bane, which, of course, might not be the best thing against Mac. We'll have to wait and see just how it plays out.
Once again, GUMIHO going for those creep tumor. Now, I have seen GUMIHO do this like old school 2 Thor drop strategy, and I'm wondering if he's going to do so, because right now he does have medevacs, 2 medevacs coming out of that starport. And
Yeah, it looks likely.
Yep.
Oh, there he goes. I love it. I love Thor drops. They are so powerful. Oh, and it's a nice 1-1 timing as well, so these are upgraded Thors as well. That's crazy. Alright, Hellions are gonna try to find an angle over at the 4th base. Oh, they're gonna morph into Hellbats, taking advantage of the medevac. So here come the Thors. Queen's in front trying to take a lot of the damage. Lings and Banes coming in from behind. Banes are gonna connect on the Hellbats, but the Thors are pretty much left alone. One of them is stranded up in front, but it will get picked up by the medevac. Queens are starting to get very low on health, and look at that. The Thor is just adding so much DPS to the Hellbats in front. All of a sudden, Rogue is kind of caught with his pants down a little bit.
Yeah, he's desperately trying to produce some units, but I mean, GUMIHO's already on the 4th base. Looks like he Rogue will go ahead and evacuate. In the meantime, he's gonna go ahead and send the Lings, knowing that the Lings is probably gonna be a little bit useless against these Hellbats, but looks like the rest of the Hellbats should be cleaned up. Now that's all that's left are the doors. Gotta save those doors. Oh, actually can't save one of them, as the nice focus firing from Rogue on one of the medevacs.
Yeah, sort of returning that trade to at least less, or more favorable for himself. Obviously, the Zerg is expected to trade worse in these scenarios, but Thors especially can be so cost efficient when you are able to pick them up like that.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. Looks like GUMIHO once again gonna go across the map. Not the scariest of forces compared to the before, but that's still 3 doors.
Oh wow, I got +2 mech attack mixed up with the blue flame upgrade, so it looked a little bit mixed up. Now look at this, we have a Ling run by actually getting into the natural. SCVs are immediately evacuated, so will these Lings actually get more damage done? It looks like they will be able to pick off quite a few SCVs, also forcing the mineral line off at the 3rd base. So this is some pretty decent damage, I would say. Now the Ravagers have joined the Lings across the map. They are going to target down this 4th base that is also building on location. All in all, 16 SCVs have gone down. Upgrades are just about to finish for GUMIHO, as well as that 4th base, so the Ravagers will be forced back. But this is actually a nice little bit of counter damage, I would say.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, getting 16 SCVs, also cleaning up the attack that was coming from GUMIHO in the middle there. I mean, I would say that was definitely a favorable trade for Rogue, and now he's sitting pretty at about over 50 overall supply here.
Yeah, now that supply, of course, can be considered a little bit inflated by the Roaches, but regardless, I mean, usually you would see mech maybe around 140, 150 supply by now, so you can definitely tell that GUMIHO is, not able to trade as well as he wanted to earlier.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, it's a little bit deceiving on the supply front, but also deceiving because GUMIHO, he's got the upgrade advantage, 2-2. He started the 3-3 even before Rogue started 2-2, so he's going to have that advantage on his end.
A nice set of biles, just, making sure that both players are on their toes, not losing anything for free. But at the same time, that mass of Hellbats and Thors was able to buy enough time for tanks to come out. Now, I think that when tanks come out, this is when the paradigm shifts, right? You need to be a little bit more Lingbane heavy. Rogue, on the other hand, he's got a lot of Ravagers, but his army is mostly Roaches, and they, of course, do get shredded, absolutely shredded by tanks.
Yeah, and those big fatty doors, they're gonna be in the front. They're trying to block those Ravagers from trying to get on top of the tanks to corrosive bow them. So it's gonna be extra hard to get on top of it. He's gonna have to try to go for a somewhat of a sandwich, a flank of some sort, a kind of a surround to mitigate some of those tank splash damage. Or he can try to run in with the Lings to try to take the tank shots and have the rest of his Roaches. But he definitely needs to do something else. I mean, he's right now, his Hive just finished. Let's see what tech he goes for as his follow-up to add into this kind of a tier 2 army here that Rogue is having or playing with.
I do like what Rogue is, well, actually, I like what both players are doing. So Rogue is using the Roaches to sort of scout around, hopefully trade out as efficiently as possible. On the other hand, we have GUMIHO setting up a triple Thor drop over at the, what is this, the 6th base? Something like that. Yeah, so the Thors are going to start doing some work. Roaches actually do get in, so they bust down the natural wall. They take down a couple of tanks on the way in. Hellbats are doing their best to try to catch up. Tank on the high ground will be able to clean it up eventually, but not before the Roaches get into the pocket base. They will take care of a missile turret, and total almost 10 drones, 10 workers are going down. Now this triple drop in the main is going to start doing some damage. I feel like at this point the Thors might be better off killing Overlords and trying to supply block Rogue, rather than trying to trade out with this Lingbane Ravager that is about to get the surround.
Yeah, Thor's not generally the best at dealing against Lings, and so looks like he will get minimal amount of damage. Will retreat for the time being, but Rogue, he's starting to add in those Vipers. Those Vipers can be a kind of a X factor during this during the fight later on, but looks like Rogue actually going to take the engagements ahead of those Vipers.
Wow,
I'm not quite sure about this. TeaDragon.
Yeah, at first I thought, hey, that's a good move, right? You want to catch mech when they're not sieged. But the thing is, Rogue sort of blew through it head on, all the Lingbane got roasted by the Hellions, and the tanks didn't even need to siege is what sort of happened. So now, all of a sudden, I mean, GUMIHO is able to just keep pushing forward, even though, again, Zerg is slightly ahead in supply. I mean, what is that supply really? It's in a bunch of Roaches that are just about to be morphed. Now, Parasitic Bomb, interesting choice. It does go down on the medevac. Okay, Vipers will finally get picked off. One Blinding Cloud only takes care of one siege tank. The rest of them are about to siege up. Drones are pulled off the line. I think we're about to see game. This is basically an unbreakable army.
Yeah, doors are still standing. The tanks right there in the backside as well. And there we have it. Rogue is going to GG, and GUMIHO will take the first game.
Alright, so once again, we see GUMIHO going for the quick second command center. I mean, one game, I get. 2 games, okay. But my real question here is, GUMIHO, will you do it for a 3rd game? That's the real question.
Sometimes whenever a player is done with a game, they would kind of rewind and watch the replay. And I wonder if Rogue is gonna do that and see that he has been dealing with a Terran who has gone CC first in both of these games, and whether he wants to go ahead and maybe punish him for in the dirt game in case GUMIHO does go for another CC first opening.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, think about it. A 12 pool, by all means, should be able to shut that right down. It's basically the perfect build for Rogue to counter with a quick pool. But of course, we'll have to wait and see. For now, looks like everything is pretty much standard. I wonder if GUMIHO is going to go mech again, and if it's going to be Thor drops like last time, or if it's going to be, I don't know, battle mech, right? That's the sort of flavor of mech that GUMIHO is most famous for.
Yeah, battle mech, even air mech. I've seen GUMIHO pull out like a BC rush out of the gate against his Zerg opponents, and Yeah, he's one of those players that really excel during mech play. I think it's a combination of he has had the most experience in playing that kind of play style, but also, his opponents don't really normally play against that type of play style, so it kind of catches his opponent off guard, and they kind of get flustered, and they're not quite as experienced on how to deal with against a mech player versus someone who goes for maybe a marine tank kind of arm composition.
All right, so what you're saying here, Snoopy, is that GUMIHO is the king of ladder. Because I don't know about you, but whenever I ladder, that's exactly what it feels like game after game. Just like, what is this? What am I being rushed by? Like one base floor drops or, just crazy stuff like that. And of course, it's not like I haven't seen them before. It's just that the last time I saw them was 3 months ago when it was in the meta.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I think NA ladder is a little bit of a...
Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah, it's like a different world compared to the
definitely.
Korean ladder. So yeah, I'm with you. Like the things I see on NA ladder is just absolutely crazy.
Oh, for sure. Now, a question for you. What do you think EU ladder is best known for?
EU ladder. I think EU ladder has really developed similar to Korea ladder in terms of they're more little bit less crazy. They're in
More
between
standard.
though. They're more in
Okay.
between, I think, in between NA and Korea. But yeah, it's not as crazy as NA, but just a tad bit crazier than Korea. And then of course, I feel like over the years, EU has kind of made a case as maybe it could be the best ladder.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But I think Korean ladder, EU ladder, just they're up there. It's just that they have different build orders and play styles.
Right. That makes sense. I've heard wild things about the Chinese meta, for example. That's a meta that, I don't know about you, but I barely interact with at all. And it's just like, I've heard crazy stories about like, oh yeah, in Terran versus Zerg, you're supposed to go one base in most of your, just like crazy stories like that. I don't know how much of it is true, but if it is, then that makes for a good story.
Oh yeah. I haven't heard or I haven't seen too much of the Chinese ladder because we're not as exposed to them. Of
Right.
course, NA, EU, and Korea are the three bigger ones. So
Right.
yeah, even like Australia. I mean, I guess I've seen a bit of Australia just because I've seen Pigs stream, but usually he would
Right.
play over at the NA ladder.
Yeah, that makes sense. Oh, looky here. Why is this drone so oversaturated? And okay, there we go. So the drones are going to be transferred back, but there are Hellions just sort of barely blocking that wall. They will get taken down. The Hellbats working on the third base are still alive. They will get cleaned up eventually by these queens. Now that Viking in the back actually adding enough DPS to kill off a queen. And in total, wow, Rogue is feeling the pain right now. 16 drones have gone down.
Yeah, that is very big ouch there. This is before the 6-minute mark, so yeah, that is going to be a tough kind of a road to kind of climb himself back out of this hole here. And you know what?
Yeah.
He might have the opportunity because he is going for Spire, and it has, I believe it has yet to be scouted. Let me go ahead and double check. Yeah, it has yet to be scouted, so maybe, just maybe, if Ro can catch GUMIHO by surprise, maybe he can start dealing out enough damage to even up the 16 drone losses that he just suffered.
Yeah, no, that definitely makes sense. Spire might be his only way back into this game, as of course, GUMIHO is following up Blue Flame with Thors and more barracks, so he is going to be committing to that bio-based playstyle, which of course deals with mutas very, very well. Okay, Hellbat's morphing. They are going to work on this fourth base. 11 mutas plus 1 attack for air is also on the way. So, again, it's going to be a pretty tight timing here. It is definitely doable, so we're going to have to wait and see. if GUMIHO is able to defend adequately against it.
Yeah. All right, looks like the Thors are rolling out. Excuse me. All right, so looks like GUMIHO does see the Mutalisk. Yeah, he's throwing up those turrets. So I don't imagine these Mutalisks can get too much damage, but you never know. If you can get enough Mutalisks, which looks like he is committed to, even though GUMIHO has turrets all around, Rogue can go ahead and try to one snipe them. And I mean, these Mutalisks in numbers are actually crazy good.
Yeah, definitely. Now here is the first engagement. We've got a couple of Marines as well as a Thor. That Thor is holding strong, but not for long, as the medevac will get taken down. The Thor also gets picked off by these mutas, but it was a pretty high cost. I would say that pound for pound, gas for gas, the Terran player definitely came out on top there. These Marines are gonna start stimming forward. More mutas are on the way, but I have to say, earlier with that run by into the natural, that was what killed Rogue's muta momentum, because of course the mutas did get scouted, number one, and number two, they got delayed such that more Thors were able to come out, such that more missile turrets were able to be built. So these mutas definitely did not hit a timing, but they are keeping Rogue in the game for now.
Yeah, I mean, imagine if he didn't lose all those drones. He probably, instead of looking at 17 Mutalisks right now, maybe he's sitting at 28 or something like that.
Right. Okay, so it looks like we've got a 1-1 timing coming out for GUMIHO. These Marines are gonna go pretty far forward. They are gonna see that these Lings are not, in fact, Banelings, and that the rest of the Banelings in the back don't actually have speed. Mutas are gonna have to be grouped up with the Ling Bane for now. Queens are pulled to the front lines. They will start transfusing. Oh, very nice transfuses on the mutas as well, and these medevacs are pretty much out of energy, so GUMIHO is going to have to retreat for now to meet up with reinforcements.
Alright, looks like a little bit of a dance as GUMIHO is deciding where to hit. Oh, actually, no, never mind. Looks like he is going to go ahead and pull back for the time being.
Wow, did he scout out those mutas? That was a very crisp move by GUMIHO.
Yeah, I was about to say that as well.
Yeah. Either way, whether or not it was scouted, it was a good move. Blocking the mutas from doing significant damage. Because I think right now, how many mutas is this? This is 20 mutas. This is a good amount. If you've got only one missile turret, you can just quickly gun down that missile turret. You can snipe it, and then the rest of the SCVs are free game for the mutas. But that's why the Thors were brought back earlier.
Oh, actually.
So now we're kind of... Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like he had the watchtower onto the top right side.
Oh.
And that provided him vision for the Mutalisk. So it looks like that's why he pulled the doors back. Looks like he did pull it back in time, and right now he's going to go ahead and try to reclaim back that watchtower. Man, this is one of the maps that does have that crucial watchtower, which provides so much helpful vision.
Man, at such a high level, I mean, these players are just able to keep on dancing back and forth, and they barely lose anything up until the main engagement. Now, that was a little bit... I actually don't know if it was a mistake by either player. It could have just been a very nice trade, because obviously Banelings do cost gas. Now, hold that thought, because these mutas are getting some decent damage, and they found an opening by GUMIHO's 4th base. Marines are going to have to stim backwards. But yeah, so now we've got Widom Mines out on the field. So this is a pretty critical moment, I would say, in the game. We've got GUMIHO with 2-2 bio up against 1-1 Ling Bane. So as long as GUMIHO's able to capitalize, he could get a lot done here. Looks like he's too busy dealing with the mutas at home. Yeah,
Rogue doing a great job just keeping GUMIHO busy back at home and allowing him for his upgrades to finish, to at least mitigate or to even up the upgrade lead that GUMIHO currently enjoys. So soon Rogue will be sitting at 2-2 as well, but of course GUMIHO, once his 3 hits or completes, he will have a period of time where he's going to be well ahead in terms of the upgrades.
Yeah, definitely. We're about to get into the late game here as both players are maxed out. Now, even though GUMIHO's the one who's arguably been ahead for most of this game, interestingly enough, it's Rogue who has the bank, and I believe that's just how Zerg sort of works. You know, Rogue up on 92 drones, his opponent only on 59 SUVs on the other hand. So it could still be scary for either player, right? Either GUMIHO gets severely overwhelmed, or Rogue gets run over by a simply, you know, vastly larger army. So here we're going to see an engagement. These Mutas are taking a ton of damage by that Thor, which is still alive, by the way. It's going to get one more volley off, but that was... Oh my gosh, how many Mutas just went down? That was about half of them.
Yeah, 11 Mutalists went down during that fight. And that is going to lower up the Mutalist count down to all the way to 9. So 9 Mutalists, just not that scary.
Although, Snoopy, if I were Rogue, and obviously it's because I'm so good at the game, so I get to tell Rogue what to do. No, I'm kidding, of course, but if I were him, I don't know, 11 more Mutas might be worth it. I might not want 22 supply in Ling Bane at this point. Well, it's hard to say. I'm not sure.
Yeah, it looks like he made a couple extra Mutalists, so now the Mutalist count has jumped up to 16. Respectable number. But right now, it looks like GUMIHO, he's got the army lead. It's going to come down to these Baneling connections, which actually does a nice, gets some nice hits there at the end.
Yeah, not too bad, honestly. Now all that's left are these Thors and mostly Marauder-heavy Bioforce. Banelings are going to come on forward, but they will get picked off by the Widowmines in the back. Very, very good Widowmine spread. Very good spread on the Bio as well. These Marauders are holding strong. Oh my gosh, look at that. Such low health. The Lings from the back are not going to be able to get much done either.
Alright, looks like the Mutalists are trying to fly right back in to help reinforce the rest of his Lings here. Now, the majority of these Marines and the Thors has gone down, so maybe these Mutalists can take advantage of the lack of anti-air coming from GUMIHO. But boy, these Lings are doing the work here. They are currently on 2-2 upgrade, but the 3-3 did finish, so right now, with the reinforcements as well as the upgrade lead, GUMIHO will just barely hold by the skin of his teeth.
Yeah, really just sort of showing the power of adrenal glands. And honestly, Marauders, they're pretty good against Banelings, or at least holding against Banelings, but right there we saw what seemed to be GUMIHO sort of underestimating the power of those Lings. Now, Ultras are on the field, so that is going to be a big sign for GUMIHO to evac the Thors, and now they're going to have to go back all the way to the 4th base, which is a planetary. GUMIHO dipping in supply. He's been pretty low for a while now, whereas Rogue has been maintaining a virtually maxed out army. Bio is forced all the way back behind the mineral line, and GG is called. Rogue is going to tie up the series. Yeah, it looks like our prediction is not going to quite turn out to be true. Rogue is not going for a pool first. So quite content to just go for a very standard hatch gas pool, I believe. And then, of course, GUMIHO once again going for that quick command center on the low ground. Now, I'm not sure if GUMIHO was doing this in the past, but he did go for double gas this time around. So maybe we're going to see some more mech play. Maybe we're going to see some sort of mech opener at least.
Yeah, I mean, it did work out for him in the first game. Not quite as much in the second, but against someone like Rogue, you might want to actually start changing it up. You don't want to go for the same build, especially after losing in the last game with the mech play. You want to keep Rogue
right
on his toes, you know.
Oh yeah, definitely. So I know this is pretty standard, but do you think that we could extrapolate any information from Rogue taking that triangle base? It is, of course, especially on this map, you know, a step forward towards your opponent instead of a step sideways or a step backwards. So maybe, I don't know, who knows? Maybe Rogue is going for some sort of early push himself.
Yeah, I mean, it does make sense because he has seen GUMIHO go for mech play twice in a row. And one of the weaknesses of mech play is that, you know, in the early game, they're not as, you know, they're not as powerful. You kind of need the numbers. They kind of scale exponentially once you grow in the numbers. But in the beginning, it's not as powerful. So if Rogue can go for maybe like a Ling Roach timing of some sort, then maybe he can kind of break Gumiho and kind of force him back into from 3 bases to 2 bases. And of course, taking up that pocket base, it does allow a shorter rush distance between the 2 players.
Right, and he is spreading creeps semi-aggressively to that side. But I do have to say, I really like what Gumiho's doing. He's got a double starport setup. He got his 3rd and 4th gases really, really quickly. So any sort of roach push, you know, if there is any amount of Banshees involved, I think it's going to get shut down pretty fast. So it doesn't quite look like Rogue is going to go for some sort of push like that. But, I mean, I'm just excited to see what Gumiho has in store. It looks like a fusion core is about 2/3, 3/4 done. So are we going to see a double BC opener?
Yeah, I mean, we talked about how you know, Rogue, he's one of those. Gumiho is one of those Terrans that can pull out some Banshee. Oh, sorry, some BC rush play. So here we go. 2 BCs are gonna be on the production here.
Oh man, this is exciting. So, like you said, 2 BCs. This is before the 5-minute mark. Now I've seen this build. Okay, hear me out. I've seen this build on 2v2s before. I haven't quite seen it in 1v1s. Maybe it's because they got it from Gumiho, right? Gumiho was the progenitor of this specific build. And I believe what happens is you teleport the 2 BCs in, and you just like completely blindside your Zerg opponent, because they're not going to be expecting not just 1 but 2 BCs. And obviously 1 BC you can sort of deal with a Spore Crawler and a couple of Queens and that kind of thing. But when you've got 2 of them there, the DPS is much higher, and you're just not able to keep up with your Queen production.
Yeah, and looks like throughout this whole game, Gumiho has denied vision from denied the vision of Rogue. So Rogue right now, he's not gonna be expecting this at all, and he's gonna have his pants caught out. Well, he's gonna get caught with his pants down rather quickly, as the first BC, I believe, yep, he jumps straight. Oh, actually, both BCs jump straight into the main. And here we go. Let the carnage begin.
Oh man! Immediately, 3 Queens are going down. This is probably one of the worst times for. Well, actually, no. I mean, there's no really bad time for a proxy. Excuse me, for a macro has to be made. But anyways, we've got the 2 BCs flying down to the 3rd base. I'm gonna snipe down that Spore Crawler as well. Oh, look at that! Oh, Queens are gonna get stuck behind the Baneling nest. A couple of them are gonna stay on the low ground. Now, this is a good amount of spores now, finally. But these Queens are just caught trying to move up and down, lagging behind the BCs. Oh, man.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so far, this is a lot of damage.
Yeah.
Oh, look at that. Another Yamato going down. Gonna take care of a Queen on the way out. Gumiho's control is excellent. He, of course, can't really afford to lose these. BCs, they gain value over time as long as you're able to keep them alive. Oh, look at that! 2 more BCs are gonna TP in, as well as a... Oh, but just barely. That Mule is not gonna be able to save that first battle cruiser. The second one is gonna be healed up over in the back, but this is really annoying to deal with if you're Rogue, right? Like, you're just constantly trying to deal with this, waiting to try to find that opportunity to, you know, keep on doing that damage if they go up onto the high ground, that kind of thing. Yeah. But I think they're actually going to get the 3rd base.
Yeah, this is a quite... Oh my god, he... that BC... that BC on 10 life. He survives.
Wow. I wonder how much damage Spore Crawlers do. That I'm pretty sure that's like 1 hit away from dying.
Yeah.
Oh, and if we pull up resources lost, it is just carnage for the side of Terran.
Yeah, this is quite devastating. Remember, you guys spent all those drones and turned them into Spore Crawlers as well. And finally, Corruptors are coming out, but is it going to be enough? Right now, he currently sits at 8 Corruptors. And Gumiho still can teleport back home.
That's right. Looks like TP will be initiated immediately. That Viking does get taken down, but not before those 2 BCs are going to be able to head on home. And looks like Gumiho is gonna keep up the BC production. We're gonna see some BC Hellion play, which is not the most orthodox, but also, it could be pretty powerful.
Yeah, I don't blame him. I mean, right now he has 5 BCs versus the 8. Oh, never mind. Never mind.
Oh man, it just got deleted. Yeah, it was a glitch in the game. Oh wait.
You know what? Forget about the BCs. Look at all these Hellions. 16 Hellions. What does Rogue has for it? A bunch of Lings.
Oh. Okay, they will get a decent surround, at least at first, but now the drones are going to have to be pulled. Wow, okay. I thought it was going to go much worse for Rogue.
Yeah,
props to him. Pulling basically the perfect amount of drones to keep the Hellions from getting into the mineral line.
Yeah, GUMIHO could have definitely microed that better. He would have gotten so much more. Positioned those Hellions in a much better position where there's a limited amount of surface area for those for those Lings to get to the surround. But here we come, battle cruisers flying in, and so far we have total 7 BCs versus the 10 Corruptors.
Yeah, and of course those Yamatos are going to give GUMIHO some free picks on the Corruptors. I don't think Yamato one-shots Spore Crawler, so I actually really like what Rogue has set up here. He's also doing a huge Ling run by taking care of basically the entirety of the third base. So it's going to be up to GUMIHO to start getting some damage done with these BCs. He will push back that Spore Crawler line just a little bit, but I don't know. We've seen this position before from GUMIHO just in the last game. Of course, it didn't involve BCs. It didn't involve this kind of army comp, but for all intents and purposes, economically, it was the same situation. GUMIHO was kind of ahead, and then he got counterattacked. In this case, it's the Lings. And eventually, Rogue was able to take it to the late game and catch up.
Yeah, we'll see how this game plays out. Looks like we got kind of a 2-prong attack coming from GUMIHO. One, the kind of a ragtag force of Hellions in the right side, or sorry, the top side. And then all the oh my goodness, look at that.
If we saw that in real life, that would basically blot out the sun. That's just a crazy amount of BCs. And I think lore-wise, they're supposed to be huge, right? Like they're a floating city or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, we saw the Heart of the Swarm cinematics. I mean,
right.
But I gotta say, I feel like that was a little bit over animated. I don't think BCs are that huge. They're huge, but they're not that huge that they appeared in the Heart of the Swarm cinematics. But
right. Now, unrelated, Snoopy, have you ever played the lore? I think it's called like the lore size mod, something like that.
Lore size? Basically,
where you load up this mod into a custom game and then it shows all of your units but accurate to the lore in terms of their size. So for example, every air unit is gigantic and it blocks out your whole screen.
Oh, no, I actually haven't played on that mod before, but that sounds very interesting.
Oh, for sure. I'll send it to you later, but hold that thought because these BCs are gonna burn down that's okay, I got distracted. I was gonna say they're gonna burn down the spawning pool. Not quite able to. The Corruptors were in position. Oh man, just look at the supply though. I mean, not only is GUMIHO ahead, but he's also ahead in terms of resources lost. So he's definitely been trading very, very well this game.
Yeah, I mean, GUMIHO has been pretty much in the driver's seat throughout this whole game. Just harassing Rogue with all these BCs. And now he's going to start transitioning into Thors. So he's just going full on mech, getting his mech upgrades as well. And the Rogue, he's just trying to survive as much as possible. Getting that Neuro Parasite upgrade, that will definitely help during the engagement. If you can kind of maybe Neuro some of these BCs and then just kind of use the Yamato cannons on the doors, then possibly, but you gotta find some way to protect those investors out on the front.
Right. Yeah, definitely. So what we're seeing here is one of the compounding benefits of being ahead in the game. And you especially see it with mech, where, you're able to sort of switch between army compositions, or not full compositions, but you know, it could be something as basic as adding in another type of unit. And what happens is the attacker has the advantage because they're the ones initiating the fights, right? So that's why, especially at lower levels, it might feel like it's harder to defend rather than to attack. It's simply because, you know, you're sort of lagging behind in terms of information. And in this case, what Rogue is sort of lacking is the fact that Thors are going to be the next army composition to deal with. So I don't know. I feel like this is definitely going to go in favor of GUMIHO, but we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see, as really it's going to come down to engagement and kind of the army positioning. If you can kind of position something there in between the infestors and the ground units, because of course it's not just doors, but also there's cyclones, there's hellions, which some of them should turn into hellbats, I would imagine. Right. You kind of buy enough space between the two armies, the two ground armies, then maybe, you know, those narrows can deal out, or it could be the tide changer here. But here we go, a little bit of a dance here in the watchtower side, as Cyclone's gonna go ahead and try to micro against these little banelings and roaches. And you know what? Both of these players, somehow, some way, especially for Rogue, has reached max supply. So just waiting for that huge engagement to see how this turns out.
Yeah, props to both players. I mean, GUMIHO with a semi-aggressive opener, but he also did get a quick third command center on location, which of course had to be lifted up due to a Ling run by. But, you know, props to him for pulling out this very fancy build. And then also, of course, props to Rogue for being able to make it all the way past the 15-minute mark, just surviving wave after wave of harassment.
Yeah, if it was me, I would have just GG'd out early on.
Yeah, same. This is not easy to deal with. Now, we've got the banelings and the roaches coming forward. They are going to get absolutely demolished by these tanks and Thors. The Thors are going to hold strong in the back. Infestors are coming forward to neural some of these BCs. Corruptors are going to try to engage as well. Oh, wow, that was an aggressive TP. That was GUMIHO, right? That wasn't Rogue's teleport?
I don't know. There was so much chaos in the middle. I couldn't really pay attention, but
that was pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Either way, it doesn't really matter because GUMIHO is just going to be able to A-move from here on out. The Corruptors are going to move back on forward. Some Yamatos are triggered. Lings are going to be able to clean up the rest of the ground. Look at that. SCVs on the ground as well, helping out with the repair because, of course, these BCs did burn off their teleport earlier. Oh man, this is a crazy trade.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow. You know what? Rogue has done it. He has completely annihilated their air fleet of GUMIHO and has cleaned up the majority of the ground units. There's 2 doors left over, but now these Corruptors can go ham on all these building structures as they vomit them to death. And you know, Rogue has that Great Aspire, so he can turn these Corruptors into Broodlords.
Yeah, GUMIHO definitely showing Rogue the respect that he deserves, pulling back all of the Thors, positioning them to try to take down as many Corruptors as possible. But yeah, like you said, these Corruptors have basically been given free reign over virtually the entire map. They're going to go into the main, try to take care of some of these factories as well, which is very important to take care of because this is the heart of the Terran production. Yeah,
if GUMIHO can't produce, then Rogue is going to go ahead and start pulling ahead in terms of the army supply. Finally, a door comes out, but not before all these factories gets taken out. And you know, because they are Corruptors, even if the factory did lift up, then the Corruptors would have been able to snipe them. And so it looks like GUMIHO's production is going to be halted for a bit, as we do see here in the army size. GUMIHO taking a little bit of a upward swing.
Yeah, he was able to save that one command center, I believe. Yeah, so that command center, that orbital command over at the 5th place location did have to be lifted, but now it's going to be safely landed once again, all these Thors and Hellions and that single Raven there to defend. Oh, look at that. In the middle of the map, the barracks is still alive. Just used as a scouting tool at this at this stage of the game. But I believe if Rogue was able to kill it, then it would actually prevent GUMIHO from making more factories. I think that's how the tech tree works.
Yep.
I'm not sure.
Yeah. If he was able to take it, but looks like Rogue is gonna let it live for now, as we did see a bunch of factories being queued up here by GUMIHO, and GUMIHO gonna probably try to sit back for the time being, remake all those factories, get the production running again, and then I think he should be able to move out. I mean, right now he still has the supply lead here, but again, as we saw in the previous big fight, it all comes down to executing the spells, and as well as the army engagement.
Oh yeah, definitely. Now, speaking of supply, it feels like forever since Rogue was last maxed out, and I think that is just symptomatic of his very low eco position. I mean, I think, yeah, look at that. It looks like Rogue has actually fewer workers than his opponent. So this is definitely not a comfortable position to be playing in as the Zerg. He's just barely trying to max out, trying to squeeze out as much as he can. A couple of Broodlords are coming up as well. Now, he does have a good amount, so I think that the next engagement will... It's not going to go too badly for him, especially with those Infestors on the ground. But he is not the one with the bank, so this is going to be a little bit scary for both players.
Yeah, looks like we finally see both players being relatively maxed out. Still a little bit of supply to go, but here we have it. The Broodlords are going to go ahead and fly in. They're going to spew out their Broodlings. What does GUMIHO has for them? He has 7 BCs, 1 Raven, and 6 doors. It's going to be quite of a tough one. Going to be close, I think.
Oh, wow. That Raven just blanketing pretty much the entire army with the Cheeto dust. Okay, Thors are going to come out from the north side. They are going to be forced back by the Broodlings after GUMIHO realizes just how many Broodlords there are. Speaking of which, how many is that? That's over 12, right?
15 Broodlords. Oh, you're talking about the Broodlords, right?
Right.
Yeah, 15
yeah,
Broodlords
this is
on
a very high amount. I mean, okay, there we go. So an aggressive TP. Oh, basically in the perfect spot. A little bit behind the Infestors. They are going to be able to spew out their Yamatos, and then the Infestors over in the back line are going to get taken care of before they can get any sort of significant damage done with their neural parasites. So a little bit of a mismatch here, right? It looks like GUMIHO was not really ready for that amount of Broodlords, but on the other hand, Rogue was not ready for this amount of BCs.
Yeah, I mean, I don't blame him. I mean, after killing all the BCs earlier on, who would imagine that GUMIHO would remake BCs, right?
Exactly.
All of a sudden, there's like 7 BCs on top of your Broodlord. He's like, oh, snap.
Yeah. Now, I will admit, I think that it was a pretty good move for GUMIHO to target down the Infestors rather than the Broodlords, because the Broodlords are not the biggest threat right now. The biggest threat would be the Infestors, the Spellcasters. Broodlords, if they were able to shoot up, then, I don't know, Zerg would be pretty broken. But that's not the case.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, the real threat were those Infestors. I mean, Infestors not only can fungo, but can narrow parasite. So,
yep.
I think it was definitely the right call there.
Alright, so GUMIHO once again trying to move forward. He's got quite a few BCs. He's got a Raven. That Raven has gotten so much value. There is a bit of a thing run by actually taking down... wow, once again, a high amount of SCVs over at the 5th place location. Actually forcing back GUMIHO's entire army. Look at that. Good value from the Lings.
Yeah, for sure. However, I think, at this stage of the game, I think GUMIHO is okay with it, considering he has a billion orbitals. And so SCV is not the most important unit right now. You just need enough to command gas, really. But yeah, definitely a good trade there for just a bunch of Lings. So.
Oh, and he's also going to return the favor in kind. Look at this blue flame Hellions morphing into Hellbats. Oh, are they going to get the Greater Spire? That could be a pretty critical loss from Rogue.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I actually gave me the spawning pool earlier as well. I mean, from earlier, which was already low in life.
Wow, look at that. Oh, imagine if the Hellbats also got the Hive as well.
Oh my god. Crazy. I think you're asking a bit too much from these Hellbats.
Definitely.
Oh, but it looks like the Greatest Spire does go down as well, so nice job there.
Yeah, really good value from GUMIHO. He's you know, sort of saying to Rogue, hey, I can do that too, right? You kill my SCVs, which by the way I like. I'm gonna take down your tech.
Yeah.
Oh man. So we have a bit of a standoff, or well, we had past tense a bit of a standoff in the middle of the map. Looks like Rogue is gonna set up some Spore Crawler forests over on the edge of his creep. Man, these Hellbats just aren't going down. The Broodlords are gonna have to go all the way back just to deal with them. Not really. Yeah.
Not the most ideal situation.
Right.
The evolution chambers went down as well. The Roach Warren went down as well. He's gonna probably need to rebuild that. And Rogue doesn't have the biggest bank right now to use all those resources on buildings. He would preferably make them invest those income and those resources into units instead.
Yeah, definitely. You know what this looks like? This actually kind of looks like maybe a sort of diamonds kind of level game where you've got one player committing heavily into one sort of army composition. Of course, I'm pointing out Rogue with the 15 Broodlords, and 15 Broodlords. I mean, who doesn't want that, right? The only thing about it is that you're committing so much supply to one main army that you don't have enough supply for a peripheral army, and at higher levels you need that peripheral army to be able to sort of do run-bys to scout or to catch your opponent's run-bys, and that's the key. Now hold that thought, because these BCs are going to fire off a couple of Yamatos and teleport out of there, getting some additional value against those Corruptors. But yeah, so I just want to highlight that because earlier there was basically nothing to deal with the Hellbats. There were some Roaches, but even they got burned down.
Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, when you get into these late stage game scenarios, you got to do a good job to balance your army to be able to handle different things. And unfortunately for Rogue, he was not able to handle those Hellbats. Finally was able to in the end, but suffered a lot of damage.
Oh, looks like the Thors are going to try to move on forward. Same with the Infestor, Corruptor, Broodlord army. Oh, look at that. The Hellbats over on the Watchtower. They were about to start roasting those drones from the high ground. I love that.
Alright, so pretty much...
move forward. Yep.
So pretty much the map has been split in half. There are like maybe two more bases, maybe one or two more bases left still to be mined, but looks like Rogue is going to go ahead and start attacking this top left side here. Oh my goodness.
Here we go. A bunch of Ravens are out on the map. A bunch of Yamatos are going to get fired off. Immediately, that Broodlord army pretty much gets decimated. Fungals are going down. More of those anti-armor missiles. Oh, look at that. Even the disables. So many disables on the Infestors. Infestors are not able to get the value that they need from capturing those BCs. And look at that. Corruptors are just going to get absolutely murdered. GG is called. GUMIHO is going to take game number 3. Yeah, looks like both players... I don't know, is that respect or is that disrespect to keep on going for greedy builds? I would assume at this level it's basically just sort of respect. I mean, they've basically seen every cheese in existence, so...
Yeah. I'd imagine it's one of those kind of things where it's like beauty is in the eye of the beholder. And so I guess one way you can see it as disrespect, but another way you can see it as respect. Now cue the respect song. R-E-S-P. Oh, sorry. R-E-S-P-E-C-T.
We gotta hear those bars, Snoopy. When are you dropping your mixtape?
That's the other Snoop Dogg, you know.
Oh, my bad. I
Yeah,
got you
yeah.
guys mixed up. Sorry.
Don't worry, a lot of people do.
All right, so once again, Rogue is going for that third base over in the triangle location, and once again, his opponent is going for the double gas opener into what could be mech once again. I mean, don't fix what's not broken, right?
Yeah, I mean, he has taken a 2-1 lead with pure mech play in all 3 games. So I wouldn't be surprised if GUMIHO did go for another game with mech.
Yeah, definitely. Now, speaking of which, in that last game, I want to get your thoughts on that last fight, because I kind of feel like maybe the Ravens were what gave GUMIHO the advantage. You know, it kind of seemed like Rogue was not expecting them. And so then he just sort of lost all of his investors, and then the game was over after that. But I'm not sure. Well, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, during those huge fights, Ravens do come in quite handy with their spells. I'm not quite sure what Rogue could have done. He didn't have any like Vipers or anything to yank them. Because sometimes you do see a little bit of a dance between Zerg and Terran players where the Zerg would yank them, abduct the Raven, and then snipe the Raven with the Corruptors. But yeah, it was just tough because there's not a lot to counter them. Similar to against the Protoss, they have those disruptors, and really a
Right.
Terran player can't really do too much to counter them, whereas a Zerg player, they can counter them with Vipers. But in the TVP, like, there's really not much you can do. I mean, you can of course use liberators to zone them out, but all in all, there's not like a direct counter to them. So I think it feels like the same thing with Ravens in the ZVP, or sorry, ZVT matchup.
Interesting. Because, in theory, Ravens and Vipers, they kind of serve similar purposes, or they sort of fill similar niches in their respective armies. You know what I mean? Like, both are spellcasters, and both are air units, which is key because they can't be hit by, Colossi, Disruptors, that kind of thing, Marauders, I don't know, whatever. But, yeah, just an interesting thing to think about, because, like you said, you don't typically see Ravens against Disruptors, but you do see a lot of Vipers against Disruptors.
Yeah, for sure. I've also thought of Ravens and Vipers as pretty much the same, or serves the same purpose.
Right.
They're units that you kind of get into the late game, and you make a couple of them, not like a mass amounts, like a couple of them, and you rely on their spell casting to kind of turn the tide of the fight into your favor. So, yeah,
Right.
I definitely see the comparisons between these two units.
Yeah. Now, I do like the addition of this Raven with these Hellions. That means that while it is a pretty big gas investment, that could be part of why GUMIHO goes for the quick double gas in the beginning. But what that allows GUMIHO to do is to clear creep without having to burn off energy. So he can keep using that energy for mules, which is obviously a huge income boost.
Oh yeah, I mean, especially when you're playing mech, you definitely want to boost your income as much as possible, because you're not going to be the one that's expanding against your opponent. I mean, Zerg already usually keeps up with 1 or 2 hatcheries ahead of the Terran, but especially against a mech Terran, the Zerg definitely wants to keep their base lead. And we might have a surround here on these Hellions.
Oh, wow. A nice surround, but that Raven adding a lot of DPS with that turret. Very nice. Oh, look at that siege position. So is GUMIHO trying to fake mech? No, he's got Marines here, so it's not a fake regardless.
Alright, looks like the Marines has joined up in the fight here. And, Rogue, his Baneling speed is about to finish. That's going to be really helpful. However, with the creep tumors being killed off, it's going to be a bit tougher for those Banelings to connect to those Marines. So GUMIHO definitely wants to fight off of creep before engaging. And Rogue probably wants to just wait till the 1-1 is finished before actually engaging here.
Yeah, definitely. Looks like he's going to be setting up a pretty good surround. This position is pretty good for GUMIHO, simply because it takes so long for the Lings and Banes to wrap around. But if Rogue is given enough time, he could do any sort of surround. 1-1 is finally going to finish, and will that be the moment when the Lings and Banes finally break this position?
Yes, sir, Bob. Here we go. Rogue gonna go ahead and dive on top of the Terran army and absolutely pummels it.
Yeah, that was pretty overwhelming. That was kind of lackluster from GUMIHO. Okay, another wave of Ling Bane are gonna, another wave of Terran is gonna try to move forward, but it's gonna get picked off by the Ling Bane Queen as well. Okay, but this is starting to look a little bit scary. The Baneling count did get reset, but Rogue is maintaining that supply lead. Of course, he is up on 88 workers, so he does not need to worry about his economy anymore, unless, of course, GUMIHO does do some sort of harass. But this is the moment where Zerg gets to power up like crazy, because they get to invest literally 100% of their resources into army.
Yeah, and look at that. The Hive just finished as well, so Rogue pulling ahead in the tech route. Of course, he does need to fend off this attack before he starts getting that tier 3, adding those tier 3 units into his army. But it looks like with enough Lings and Banelings, it looks like he's doing a good job. All the tanks have been wiped out, and all that's left are Marines against a bunch of Lings and Banelings. So Rogue, he's gonna go ahead and start powering through here, getting his upgrades. Now, will he add in Ultralists or maybe go for Broodlords once again? What do you think?
Good question. I'd say in order to pair with the Ling Bane to provide a smoother sort of transition into the late game, you kind of have to go Ultras, right? Broodlords are not going to be able to keep up with, 2 drops in the main, that kind of thing. They're just a little bit too slow. But who knows? Maybe GUMIHO also goes for a crazy BC transition, and then we're gonna get back into that sort of late game air versus air.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't look like. Does he have a Spire? No, he does not have a Spire. So, yeah, I think.
Oh, Hydra Den.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah, so it could be going into that sort of lurker-based tech. Who knows?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, that works as well. Although I think he could have timed it a bit better with the Hive, because you don't need that early of a Hive to go for Lurker Tech. But
right.
Yeah, I guess you might as well go for it. Anyhow, a little bit of kind of some drop plays coming from GUMIHO, getting a decent amount of damage here and there, but like look at the worker count, still at 90 despite losing 11.
Yeah, right. Okay, so this is going to be a little bit scary for GUMIHO. He needs to be extremely careful with his army. He needs to just be able to trade out piece by piece as efficiently as possible. Of course, he is not maxed out. His opponent, however, has, like, the entire swarm at his disposal. Look at that. Lings and Banes are going to stream on forward. Excellent positioning from GUMIHO, countered by the blinding clouds from the Vipers. Banelings are going to keep on rolling forward without the Lings to back them up. But there are more Lings in the back accompanying the rest of the Lings. So finally, GUMIHO will be able to hold that position, making excellent use of that choke position by the rocks where that tank is.
Yeah, that's one of the smaller choke areas. Pretty much the rest of the map is pretty large in terms of surface area.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that was the best case scenario for GUMIHO, kind of getting that engagement in that area. But look at here, it looks like Rogue is going to go ahead and add in more Lings and Banelings. I don't know, man, if he keeps up with these Lings and Banelings, I mean, and then GUMIHO defends it over and over again, it's going to come to a point where it's going to get a bit tricky despite Rogue leading by a solid amount, I would say.
Yeah, key here is whether or not GUMIHO is able to trade efficiently. These tanks are getting a massive amount of damage, though. That planetary finally is going to be scouted, or well, it's going to be targeted by the Banes and the Lings. But, of course, that is a benefit of the planetary. It kills the Lings and Banes very well. Some drones are also going down due to a drop over at the whatever number base that is. 5th? 6th? One of the two? Yeah, I guess it depends on what order Rogue took them, but I don't recall, so...
Yeah, it looks like that base at the 3 o'clock does finally gets cleaned up here, and yeah, a little bit of back and forth for a moment, and I mean the supply is definitely much closer than it should have been, but I mean I still favor Rogue's position. I mean he has 91 workers still against the 64 of GUMIHO, and he's gonna go ahead and even up the upgrade as well. 50 more Lings on the production tab. The thing is, he's still yet added in that lurker den, I believe. There's still, yeah, there's no lurker den, so he might want to go ahead and start adding that in.
Yeah, honestly, I think that maybe Rogue just wants Hydras for the DPS and for anti-air. I mean, I'm not sure, but it is interesting to note, right? Because usually in the late game, you will see lurkers favored pretty much unanimously by you know all players, whether they're low level, high level. You'll favor lurkers over Hydras because the Hydra, it really is not a good anti-air unit.
Yeah. I mean, we talked about the last game about balance. So,
Exactly. Oh, the balance definitely tipped in favor of GUMIHO for a second there. That would have been getting a lot of value.
Yeah, but as we said in the last game, you definitely want to balance this out between, you know, anti-air and air, ground units. And here we go, Banelings rolling in, Marines trying to kite away, but the planetary is going to get exploded and blown on up. Luckily, there is another CC, one to go. So GUMIHO, you know, for the amount of Banelings, I would say that was a relatively little losses.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Oh, I want to note that new command center was just a plain command center, and you know what? I'm gonna start doing that in my off-race games. I'm gonna just make random command centers, and I'm not gonna turn them into orbitals. I'm gonna make them as my backup command centers. That way, I can make new planetaries after my old ones are killed.
You know what? That would be that's a great plan. Of course, you have. As a mech player, you're probably going to have a lot of minerals to spend on command centers, so you can afford orbitals and plain command centers. And will he need another one? Looks like he will not need another one, as that CC still yet turned into a planetary.
I didn't know we were casting Maru. Like, look at GUMIHO with these trades. He's down on supply, he's down on minerals, but seriously, like, this could be, well, I don't know. The supply has been closer in the past, but who knows? Maybe this is a turning point. Maybe 5 bases is all that GUMIHO needs to turn this game around. Yeah. And of course, he is producing 4 ghosts at a time, which we have not seen ghosts before this. So this actually really could be a turning point.
Yeah, and none of the previous games has ghosts come onto the field, and you know, maybe he can start getting nuke upgrades as well. Kind of start sending out random ghosts to nuke different bases. I mean, it's so difficult to keep up with all your bases when you have like a billion hatcheries. It's like, where's that nuke coming from? Like, you look everywhere, and then it's really hard to spot one little red dot.
Oh yeah, definitely. Oh wow, look at those Vipers sucking out all the energy from the infestation pit, just barely leaving it alive. Okay, so Rogue did actually take the bottom right-hand base, meaning that only one base over in the center left corner of the map, center left of the map, That's the only one that's left unaccounted for. Now hold that thought, because this Ling Bane Hydra is going to move on in, taking care of the Liberators, taking care of some of the bio, but the Ghosts in the back are going to still hold strong, getting a few snipes on the retreat. So, yeah, what do you think? Who comes out on top?
I think as long as Rogue trades out, he should be fine, because he's the one with the bank. GUMIHO is the one that is kind of low in the income as his bases keeps getting attacked. So,
but this could be it, because those army units were actually caught trying to move out to the potential 6th base, and they were caught without planetary support, without lib support. So who knows, maybe that was the moment that cost GUMIHO the game. Now there will be a lot of snipes, but look at that. So many Lings are going to come on forward and just shred through the front line of Marines. Those Ghosts are going to get another round of snipes off, but now the Banelings have finished morphing, and GUMIHO sees the writing on the wall. He's going to call GG.
Alright, this is a best of 5, so this is do or die for these players, and if there was any time and moment for GUMIHO to turn into Gumigod, it would be right now. And whoa, what's this? A barracks first? What is this blasphemy?
Dude, this is crazy. This is not the standard that I know. Yeah, all jokes aside, GUMIHO finally going for a barracks first instead of a command center first. I wonder why that is. Maybe there's no reason in particular.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I guess
Oh. Maybe it's because okay. So he's placing his natural command center over at the pocket base, which of course is blocked by 2 10 mineral patches. So he would have to mine them out before even placing the command center, meaning it wouldn't really be beneficial to get a command center first. So that's why.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, if you look at the other second base, the ramp area is a bit harder to wall off.
Ooh.
So
yeah, that's a huge ramp.
Yeah.
And it's technically not even a ramp, it's just like, I mean, because there's no like low ground after it.
Yeah, it's like an
It's just a
entranceway.
walkway, I guess.
Yeah.
A Broadway. Oh.
Alright.
We're back.
Reaper gonna go ahead and try to find some damage here. Note that there are 2 drones mining the gas. Not all the drones has been taken off the gas. So we might see a bit quicker lair here coming from our red Zerg. Although we do also see a dirt hatchery, so I don't know. It could definitely be a timing push of some sort, and you might be wanting to look to break GUMIHO in the early game, but again, getting that CC in the back door, it's gonna provide GUMIHO a bit more safer kind of setup here.
Right. Yeah, that is interesting. You don't normally see Zergs leaving 2 drones on gas after researching Ling speed. So, okay, it could also be for the Overlord speed, but who knows? Maybe, like you said, maybe Rogue is still going for some sort of timing.
Yeah, that could be the case. I mean, he's getting Ling speed and Overlord speed, so that does cost a bit more gas. And yeah, he definitely wants to see what GUMIHO is up to. I mean, this is the last game. You don't want to get knocked out, or not knocked out. This is a round robin, I believe. You don't want to lose the series based off of like a surprise like BC rush that he did in like the second game.
Right. Yep, full Overlord Scout is gonna check on the main. It's gonna confirm that there is in fact a 3rd command center completed. Wow, that's a very quick command center.
Yep. GUMIHO looking to be extra greedy here. And what will Rogue do in response? Will he kind of go greedy himself, or will he go ahead and prepare for some type of timing attack, maybe even a Nidus worm of some sort? Doesn't look quite so, as the lair has just started right now, so Looks like Rogue is going to go ahead and follow with GUMIHO in terms of getting a bit greedy, pumping some drones before he got supply block there. But yeah, he's definitely looking to pump more drones.
Yeah, I think that since the Nidus nerf a while back, it's just not practical for Zergs to go for Nidus with Lings and Banes. But anyways, we've got a bit of a Hellion drop here in the main base, only able to get a couple of drones. In response, Rogue does take down one of the 4 Hellions. Very timely pullback, very well played by Rogue. And look at that, he's going up in the drone count once again, so he's identified that this, in fact, is going to be the push, not some, 2-1-1, for example, or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, this is a smarter move. I mean, he doesn't have much to put on some aggressive play towards GUMIHO right now, as he has played quite defensively, very turtley.
Well, Hellions trying to get a little bit more value, forcing some Queen micro. These Lings are also going to try to come on forward. Oh, wow, look at that. A lot of those Lings are going to get roasted. So those Hellions are getting some excellent value. Are they actually going to be able to get this Queen? This high energy Queen. Oh! Oh, no way. Look at that. The Lings just barely saved that one Queen. I'm pretty sure that Queen was one hit away from dying.
Yeah. So low in life. Got in the very deep into the red. And I think, I don't know, I feel like Rogue was kind of dangling him a little bit around, because he could have pulled it back earlier, but he decided to hang around just a tad bit longer to kind of bait GUMIHO to try to focus on that Queen with the Hellions, and the Lings were able to kind of get some extra shots at it.
Yeah, that makes sense. Alright, so we're going to see some classic Ling Bane Muta. Yeah, there we go. I was going to say Ling Bane Corruptor, but then I thought about that. Like, that doesn't make sense. We're going to see some classic Ling Bane Muta up against classic Bio here, so this is going to be pretty interesting. Of course, GUMIHO's games that he did go mech were his successful games. The games that he didn't go mech were his not so successful games, so who knows? Will Rogue be able to keep up his Ling Bane defense against Bio?
Yeah, we shall see. I mean, currently his Lings, or his Marines, are 1-1 upgrade, so they do pack a punch. Well,
yeah, especially since the Ling Bane just started 1-1, so this is going to be a huge window for GUMIHO to try to deal some damage. Now, he will have to retreat for now, because of course those Mutas are going to be able to force down the Medivacs, and then the Medivacs need to boost on out of there to keep safe. The Mutas are actually going to target the natural base as well. They are going to see that there are 2 free NG bays here, not protected by any missile turret. So this is actually going to be potentially some pretty big damage from Rogue. Now, of course, he does have to deal with the Bio that is skimming on forward, taking care of the creep as well. But look at that, the Mutas are actually going to force back the Bio. A lot of those Medivacs are going to pick up and do a Doom Drop over in the main base. A couple of Spores are going to try to help out against the Medivacs, but already Ling Bane is here to clean it up. More SCVs are going down. Mutas are actually just going to target fire down the Marines that have just popped. Things are not looking too good for GUMIHO.
Yeah, his Marines are just getting killed out of the barracks, freshly made. And yeah, Rogue doing a great job just hanging on with Lings and Banelings as his Mutalisk. They're doing so much damage across the map, getting those 2 engineering bays. Not only did he stop those 2-2 upgrades, but he's got to force GUMIHO to remake those engineering bays, which he has yet to do so, as he is so busy trying to micro on both sides. And oh
no, that's just a lose-lose situation for GUMIHO. He's actually just gonna GG. Wow. Medivacs already having to boost out of the Queen range are gonna get taken down by the Mutas. And this series is gonna go to Rogue.